Hello everyone, my name is Jared Hill, and I am creating this video just to cover another artifact that's going into my ePortfolio on Behance. So this artifact is a little different from the other ones that I've shown. This one was actually created within the Unreal Engine, as you can see by the IDE window here. I'm just going to scroll out a little bit so you can see a little more of the level. So this level was meant to be basically a simulation of 5 different rooms that you must navigate through. You play as a Sorcerer's Custodian. We created this game to sort of have a fun feel to it, so we created the main character as the Sorcerer's Custodian, who accidentally opens up a book of spells and releases the boss of the game. The boss release several other enemies into the game as well. As you traverse through the game, you will find several spell pages that give you additional powers. We have 5 powers in all. There's a lightning spell, a fire spell, an ice spell, an earth spell, and an air spell. In order to move on to the next room, you have to defeat the enemies that are currently within that room. The name of this game is the Sorcerer's Custodian, as I believe I said earlier. So let's go ahead and press play here. And as you can see here, this game was created with me as the team lead designer and programmer. Evan Burnett was our other programmer. Lucas Wentz was our story architect. And Elizabeth Peterson also helped with the story as well. And finally, Cody Pohl did our QA. So as you can see, we've got basically just a little introduction to the game here. And here are the instructions to play the game. We've got a really basic GUI going on, just showing the player's health down at the bottom. Here you can see that we've entered a trigger that's showing us another note. And we'll just move forward a little more. And this is actually a spell pickup here, so you interact with it. And you pick up the lightning spell. And as you can see here, the lightning is now active. And you can fire a lightning spell. Okay, so we also have notes that introduce you to each room. So this room is called the Burn Ward. So the enemies here are sort of fire-based. We do have some really basic AI. They just patrol, and if they spot you, then they chase you, and if they get close enough, they do some damage. They also stop following you after a certain time. These first enemies are actually pretty weak. We made them that way so that it would be a little easier on the player. When we first created the game, it was extremely difficult, really hard to beat, so we ended up reducing the difficulty of the game by increasing the damage of the spells and reducing the damage that the enemies actually do to the player. So here we go. Here's another trigger. Now we're going to get the fireball spell, which actually just creates a little fireball projectile that moves forward. I actually prefer the lightning spell, though. It's much prettier. And now we're just going to move up through. And as you can see, these enemies are a little more ice-like. You know, they've got a little point light on them. We've got a little bit of a different material to give them sort of that ice look. And also a particle system that's just sort of generating some blue smoke. Okay, and here's another trigger where we're going to pick up the ice spell. I actually really like the ice spell as well. It's basically very derivative of the lightning spell. So you can see that it actually creates another projectile. This one actually, oh gosh, that guy snuck right up on me. So these guys are a little harder to see. This is actually the air room. So the enemies are fairly transparent, so you can see through them. And it's a little darker in here, making it pretty hard to see the actual enemies. There should be 2 up here. Oh, just seeing the one. Where's that other guy? There he is. Alright. Now we're going to enter our trigger to get our air spell. And the air spell is basically just generates a little cloud, and when it hits the enemies, it does damage over time. And this guy's coming right at me. These enemies are a little bit different. Since it's an earthy location, we actually decided to go with like some little trolls here. All of our character assets were pulled from Mixamo. And the level S that you're seeing are actually from the, I believe it's Infinity Blade pack on Unreal. There we go. I believe there's one more enemy, but there's a trap right here. There it goes. Might not be another. Okay, that was the last one. Okay, now we've got the last spell, which is pretty derivative of the fire spell. It's just sort of mound or sort of sphere of dirt that moves forward. And the final boss is up here. His name is Steve. And he works a lot like the other enemies in that he'll chase you for a set amount of time and try to hit you. He does much more damage than the other enemies. And there is an issue with, as you can see right there, there's an issue with Steve where after he enters his attack, sometimes he'll go back to the T-pose. But that's the only bug we have in the game right now. So, and he also does much more damage than the other enemies. Alright, so now I've defeated the final boss. I ended the game with 25 health left, and once you get to the final point here, there's like a little trigger, and we do our happy dance. So that's Bob's happy dance. Alright, so just a little more overview of this game. This game was actually created entirely using blueprints, so just a quick demo of one of our blueprints here. This is actually Steve's blueprint. So we've got the health bar displaying and health remaining. We've got the taking damage and the basic navigation occurring. We've got the components for character movement and pawn sensing over here. And then our basic attack loop here. And each of the enemies has a very similar, so they have almost the exact same blueprint. And just for good measure, I'll go ahead and pull up one more, which is just pull up the ice. Well, that's the ice pickup. Sorry about that. So that's actually the trigger that allows you to, or that's the object that you can pick up to actually get the ice spell. And this is the actual ice spell. And again, most of the spells are fairly identical to one another, with just applying damage being the main portion of the blueprint here. Okay, that's going to do it for this video. As always, thank you for watching, and have a great day. Bye.